Okay. So go ahead and get this going so we can get out of this. We're going to call the order. Okay, we're going to call the order the City of Spencer Utility Authority meeting minutes. Excuse me. The City of Spencer Utility Authority meeting today is Thursday, June 17, 2021. Time now is 7:03 p.m. Can we get a roll call, please?
Trustee Kennedy?
Here.
Trustee Taylor?
Present.
Trustee Williams?
Here.
Vice Chairman Allen?
Here.
Chairman Harris Allen?
On this agenda, it doesn't have the indication of classrooms, but we'll go ahead and do those, and we'll just give it on the phone and council. And I'll do the indication. Let's pray. Father, we come to you this evening just thanking you once again for allowing us to see this day. Father, as we enter into this meeting and this opportunity to serve these citizens and do the things that's going to be a blessing and move this city forward, we ask that you keep all minds clear, all hearts clear. Let everyone conduct themselves in a way that's going to be pleasing and acceptable to you. We ask that as we get ready to go into this meeting, the way we left our homes, we ask and pray, Father, that we return to them safe and sound. We ask no hurt, harm, or danger will be done to anyone's family or anything while we're away. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 on our agenda is citizen design. You heard. We'll start. First name we have is Christina Mahoney. Excuse me. Can you stand up and give your name and your address, please?
Christina Mahoney, 4805 Able Street. 4805 Able Street. Can you give the zip code? It's Spencer, Oklahoma. Mahoney.
Okay, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, I have 5 that I signed up for, so that should give me 15.
No, I'm going down here for one thing. That's 3 minutes.
Oh, excuse me. Do you want to see all 5 of them?
You have 5 different agenda items you want to speak about?
If you look on your website, it doesn't say agenda. If you look on the form that you provided, it doesn't say agenda.
Well, you have 3 minutes.
Well, I have 5.
You have 3 minutes.
I have 5.
You have 3 minutes.
I have 5.
3 minutes.
Excuse me.
3 minutes.
Excuse me.
Your time is running.
No, it's not.
Your time is
I
running.
have
3
5.
minutes.
Ray, yes, 3 minutes on each agenda item is the way that our wording is.
Yes, if you look on your website, and if you look on the form that I downloaded from the website, it says I have 3 minutes. I turned in 5 requests to speak. Would you like to see them? Here's the first one. Here's the second one. Here's the third one. Here's the fourth one. And here's the 5th one. Those are all copies. I have a video of myself turning them all in. The time and video. Nowhere does it say it has to be on the agenda. If you look on your website, nowhere does it say it has to be on an agenda.
They're in our package, yes. They're in our packages.
Shelby has one already in preparation, the rest of them are record request forms.
No, these are not the record request forms. I have those too, if you'd like to see those, but you guys haven't provided in the time you're supposed to turn them in.
Can I just say that I have at least 4 of those forms for public participation form that was included in our packet, that are, date received, June 14th, another June 14th, another June 14th, 11, and they are signed, and they have the signature and by the clerk as well, and there are different ones, and they all say, public participation forms. They were actually in our package.
It says City of Spencer.
Some of these, city items, utility pool items.
Well, we're on two different
Are we on
meetings,
2 different meetings? Are we
So-
on the utility now?
We're on the utility pool meeting right now.
so then citizens' desire to be heard needs to be on the
On
regular.
the regular.
Well, it-
No. We got it on both.
We have them both.
I'm not saying yeah, it's on both. I'm just saying, for now you should talk about utility pool.
So perhaps Ray, she
So that would be, for the budget would relate to that. Right. Well, I don't know when the procedure was adopted, exactly what the wording would have been. So I would suggest we give her 6 minutes on this one, and 6 minutes on that.
Fair enough. You got 6 minutes.
I was not aware of that. I timed these, some of them are real short, some of them are under 3 minutes. Since I didn't know that it wasn't going to be, I haven't prepared it to be. Some of them are short, some of them are just, they're all under 3 minutes. So if you're gonna do that, then you need to give me a little bit of time to go make sure that I can do
Look,
6
we're not-
minutes.
We're not gonna come back to this. Well, you can get 6
You're
minutes
not
now.
being fair.
When you start our other meeting, you'll have 6 minutes.
So which ones do you want me to do now and which ones do you want me to do later?
The budget and. City manager, city clerk. I would say the budget and city manager should have two, utility authority also.
So which ones?
The budget and city manager.
Oh, I don't want. So I can, for these, I'll just do these 3, you want me to do in 6 minutes, and these 2, I can do in 6 minutes.
Okay.
Is that what you want? That's fine. So, city budget. Okay. The city budget, I wanted to bring up the city annual financial report, and the city manager's refusal to make it available to citizens. She stated that there was a policy against sharing it until it comes back from the state auditor's office. I asked for this policy and I was refused it. I was told that she doesn't have to share it, that she was told about it, but she doesn't have to share it. I do have an email with those exact words in it. This annual financial report was made available by the state auditor on 4/13/21. It is available online. I could not find any mention of not sharing this budget anywhere in our ordinances. Please, council members, look into this. The report is very relevant for the annual budget. Everything wrong in the financial report has to be looked into to make this right, then to next year go better, and to get Spencer in a better place. P.S. I have the emails where she refused to give me the policy and then copies of information if you want to see them. City manager. I have been having problems with the city manager. Starting on May 27th, 2021, I requested information from the city. At first, the emails were cordial. When I asked for specific items, I was denied and or told to wait. Then I was denied items, and finally I was told everything I had asked for I could not have and would have to start over again with a written request as if the emails were not written. And now I will be charged for them. When written requests have been turned in, which I have copies of, no fee schedule could be produced, and I'm still being denied by the city manager. The city manager is also making large monetary decisions on her own without the city council. The city manager is also purchasing cell phones for choice members of boards and committees without a budget and without city council approval. What else is she doing? City council, please look into this and stop these illegal doings. Thank you.
Okay, next person on our agenda is, Lisa Campbell. Okay. Next, Ms. Campbell is not here, Mr. Raymond Hutchinson.
I think it was submitted in writing. It's not in the report.
I'm right here, but mine are on the utilities authority, so I was just gonna wait until the next meeting.
Okay. Alright, that's fine. Okay. Moving on, item number 4 on our agenda, new business. There is no new business at this point in time. Agenda item 5, consent docket. 5.1, approval, ratification of the joint city council and utility authority meeting minutes from May 20, 2021. 5.2, approval, ratification of May 2021 bi-weekly payroll and accounts payable. 5.3, and that's a typo there, 6.4. 5.3, approval ratification of the budget for fiscal year 2021, and we can table 5.3, if that was not done last night.
Mayor, can we take a separate, instead of combining 5.1 and 5.2, can we take those separately, please?
I'm just reading off of what you can, if you have questions on it, you can remove them from the consent document down.
Remove,
Yeah,
let's
yeah,
remove.
let's remove.
You want to remove which one?
5.2?
You want to remove the ratification of payroll?
One. I'm not saying pay, I'm just saying, will we vote on that, since I don't have a working knowledge of everything, then I don't want that to stop anything, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm just saying, if this is all.
Once we, okay, that's fine, I got you.
You got me?
I got
Okay.
it, okay.
And you have to remove 5.3.
Yeah, that's it, 5.3. So you want to move 5.2 down to item 6?
Yes.
All right.
I have a correction for item 5.1 minutes. Under 9.4 minutes, there's an extra block there showing the dates that it looks like it's from the previous meeting. There's 2 blocks. And we separated. At 9.4, where it shows the decisions and votes.
Because they can't hear.
There's an extra block there.
Are the mics on at all?
You said there were 2 decisions?
Yeah, one's looks like it was like my mistake. Maybe it shows Ms. Kennedy voting and she doesn't get that. I make a motion to approve the consent document consistent with item 5.1. With the correction.
And a motion on 5.1 for the first group. Got a motion and a second, can I get a vote, please?
Trustee Campbell.
No.
Trustee Fair.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Abstain.
Vice Chairman Scanlon.
Yes.
Chairman Shropshire.
Yes. Item number 6, discussion and consideration of possible action on items removed from the consent docket 5.2, which is approve ratification of May 2021 bi-weekly payroll and accounts payable.
Mayor Frank, just so you can, and you and the rest of the citizens can understand that I asked for that to be separated out, only because I don't have knowledge of the accounts and everything to really adequately say, yes, I approve. This is no way to me that I do not want our workers to be, the city hall workers to be paid. This is just to make sure that when I roll in and I understand what's going on with the documentation, then again, I can make an affirmative yes, just so that we understand that. That's why I didn't want it to be co-joined in the consent document, and wanted the opportunity to express why when I say abstain, when we take that you understand that.
With that being the case, I'll take a motion on 5.2.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 5.2, bi-weekly payroll and accounts payable.
Got a motion, can I get a second, please?
Second.
Got a motion and a second, can I get a vote, please?
Trustee Campbell.
No.
Trustee Fair.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Abstain.
Vice Chairman Scanlon.
Yes.
Chairman Shropshire.
Yes. Item number 7, business agenda, discussion consideration of possible action on the business item to direct city staff to take appropriate action. There are none. Item number 8 is a remarks and comments. We'll hold our remarks and comments until our council agenda. Item number 9 is adjournment. Can I have a motion, please?
I make a motion to adjourn the fully authority meeting.
A second.
Second, can we get a vote, please?
Trustee Campbell.
Yes.
Trustee Fair.
Yes.
Trustee Williams.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Scanlon.
Yes.
Chairman Shropshire.
Yes. Okay, we'll move to our city of Spencer regular, excuse me, I'm sorry, that we will adjourn at 7:20 p.m. I'm sorry, 7:20.
If you all can't hear us, you're gonna have to just remind us if we're not speaking loud enough to the back, because the mics are not working at all. And we all know we can speak loud enough for you to hear us, we just have to be reminded sometimes.
Okay, we're gonna call to order our city of Spencer regular city council meeting. Today is Thursday, June 17, 2021. The time now is 7:21 p.m. Can we get a roll call, please?
Trustee Councilmember Kennedy.
Here.
Trustee Councilmember Fair. Trustee Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Vice Chairman Scanlon.
Here.
Chairman Mayor Shropshire.
Right. Okay, we will skip item number 2. Well, excuse me, I'm sorry, we did item number 2. We do have a quorum present. We will skip item number 3. We did our invocation /2. Item number 4, we have citizens desiring to be heard. Ms. Christina Mahoney. Yes, yes. And for the record, you need to state your name and address.
I do need to.
Yes, please.
Christina Mahoney, 4805 Able Street in Spencer. The first thing is council members not answering their phones or returning phone calls. I've recently gotten active in trying to bring citizens together to work with our businesses and council members to make this a great place. In reviewing May council meeting, I came across a lot of questions. So I believe I did the right thing and reached out to my ward's council member, Jim Scanlon. The very first day he returned my phone call. I have phone records. You returned my phone call,
No, it's,
and I did, and I did miss it. That was my fault. Then I called you the next day, and most days since then, you haven't returned any phone calls. I've left messages and I've received nothing. So I reached out to Frank Calvin, and you answered my phone call one day, and to me it was a little rude, but you did answer my questions, and you told me to call City Hall, so I did that, and since then I've come across several more questions almost daily as I'm trying to get to other citizens and try to help get them involved. Almost every day I call on my council members. Some of you I have specific questions for, some of you it's general. Councilwoman Renita there didn't answer any phone calls or none returned any message, except one day she sent me a text message and said, hey, don't get a hold of me, you have to get a hold of City Hall. Even though, from what I can tell, you're supposed to be working for the citizens, helping us figure things out. Councilwoman Williams and Tony Candidate answer or return phone calls, and they direct me where I need to go. They get back to me promptly. Some of my questions are still unanswered because they are very specific to who I call. I am not the only one this is happening to. I've had a few people reach out to me about this. If you council members do not want to help, please step down. You can also not accept those illegal phones from the city manager. You took an oath not to accept them, and it is against the law. It's in your oath. I can bring that up for you where you don't accept gifts. Stop ignoring the citizens and stop taking what looks like gifts to the citizens. Next is code of conduct. The code of conduct that Frank Calvin came up with on his own and talked to the city attorney about on his own is being violated by Frank Calvin. To be fair, he is not the only one. The first line under respect, caring, and attitude says, the city of Spencer's officials should treat all individuals in a respectful, courteous, and professional manner. The next paragraph says every council and board member is viewed as a representative of the government and should display loyalty, honesty, courtesy, reliability, and helpfulness, whether they are receiving criticism or answering a question from the citizens. First, how can you answer questions if you refuse to answer your phone or return a call when they leave you messages? How is any of this if you tell a citizen not to contact you and to go through a third party? When you took this job, you agreed to make yourself available to the citizens. You took an oath, and now you signed a code of conduct. Spencer officials emailing citizens saying they are not going to do their job, refusing to provide policies, refusing to provide information that they previously said they were going to do. Greenland Park. As you know, the city managers decided to tell Tipton to come remove the rodeo arena from Greenland Park. Looking at the agenda for the May council meeting, the city to this date has still failed to provide the minutes that were requested from them on June 3rd. There was no mention of Greenland Park. If you refer back to the April meeting, Mr. Long mentioned he met with the city manager that day. The park was on hold until everything had been cleaned out, the chips especially. Greenland Park has a dilapidated pavilion that has to come down before it hurts or kills somebody. Why didn't the city manager target that to tear down? If it's it is this citizen's belief that no one would have been upset to see it go. I have requested to see the bids and contracts of the demo crew and the contractor who will be rebuilding the rodeo arena. As of this date, these items have not been provided. The city manager told at least 2 different people on June 12th that she decides what goes on and that her decision is final. The city council never voted on tearing down the arena this month unless it was an unlawful council meeting that the public wasn't privy to. The citizens were informed this weekend that there was a meeting between the city manager and others where $70,000 worth of steel was purchased and scheduled to be delivered this week. Please, city council, look into this and save our parks. That's all I got.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, moving on. Item number 6, excuse me, item number 5. I'm sorry, Mr. Ray. Sorry, sir.
Raymond Hutcherson,
Raymond Hutcherson.
8491 Northeast 23rd Street, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, 73141. So, my two are 8.3, removal of all Parks Board members. I'm a little lost on why we're removing the Parks Board members if the Parks Board members are who was not communicated with what's going on in Greenwood Park. On this past Sunday afternoon, I was out at Greenwood Park and I saw it on Facebook. I went to Greenwood Park and I noticed that, yes, the pavilion is still standing. And when we were asked, when we did speak about that, we were told that those were the buildings that were damaged and they needed to come down. They were gonna hurt someone. Well, the arena is gone. It wasn't in that same jeopardy, but the pavilion's still there. So the confusion had us asking questions. On asking questions, there was still no answer. Mr. Scanlon had some people outside of this house where I joined as well Sunday afternoon. I asked him a few questions. He answered everything he could. He said there are some answers that he didn't have and he would get back with us. But as far as the removal of the Parks Board's members, I did ask clearly, were the Parks Board members notified about what's going on at Greenwood Park, correct?
Yes.
So on 8.5, consideration, discussion, and possible action to establish policy prohibiting city council members from directing or requesting the city manager appoint or remove officers or employees, and from participating in any manner in an appointment or removal of officers and employees of the city, and giving orders of ordinary administrative matters to any subordinate of the city manager, either publicly or privately, and directing the city attorney to write a letter to any council member who is alleged to have violated this prohibited warning against such actions. Are we taking action? Those are my questions. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
That's nice. I did have, when you had, Mr. John Will actually gave me her notarized statement. She did find her public participation form, please. Is it okay to read that? And I'll pass a copy to you.
Okay.
I don't think this is what citizens input was designed.
Okay, Harry.
I don't think this is what citizens input was designed for. So I'll say this, I don't think you should be.
Very well. So can I agree with that. Can I give it out to someone else to read? Would that be okay?
If there's somebody else that wants to read it.
Someone else to read?
I'll volunteer.
Thank you.
City council members, Frank Calvin and Jim Scanlon, you both think you're slick. You want to end the Parks Board because we keep the citizens in the loop on what's going on. I, Lisa Janlu, got several members of the community together because we were concerned about what's going on with Greenwood Park. This was not the Parks Board meeting. Our meetings are the last Thursday of each month. So don't try to punish my board because none of them were there. I was the only one there. But since you don't like that, we keep getting the people involved. You're using this as an excuse to get rid of this board. You are not for the people, and if anyone should be removed, it should be the both of you and the city manager, Shania Jackson. You treat Spencer as if this government is ran as a dictatorship. Step down. People see right through you. Your code of conduct has no meaning because you all don't even follow it. You will not stop me from speaking or protesting. That's my right as an American. I won't stop. Step down and get out. Signed, Lisa Janlu, 6/16/2021. She does not have an address on there. She does have a second one.
There's an address for it.
It's on the application.
It's on her participation form. I'll read it to you. This is that. It's 8621 Northeast 52nd Street.
That was just one, she had,
Yes.
correct, there was a second, that second one.
On June 7, 2021, I met with Councilwoman Latanya Williams to discuss some ideas to help the local thrift store, Fresh Fire Thrift Store. Initially, we were going to use the parking lot, to hold our event. So as Sheila, Latanya, and myself were outside organizing and planning our event, we were standing outside the animal control truck, which was driving by, or as we were standing outside, the animal control truck was driving by. So I waved him down. He stopped and I introduced myself. Then I explained my concern about my neighbor's dog. Then after the conversation, we noticed the field next to the building. Sheila asked if we knew if that was the city's property or not. Then Spud said it was and asked what we had going on. So Spud offered and stated, "Don't worry about that grass because it will be mowed." Then, I don't know this word, blank went inside to see the thrift store, but at no time did Miss Williams ask or hint Spud, to mow the grass. She stated that we need to first find out all the other property, find all the, I can't read her writing, I'm sorry, but it says of that property, then follow proper procedures. If you have further questions, please feel free to call me at, you ready to write? 405-549-7180, or you can email me at lisajanlu3@gmail.com. Thank you.
Well, listen to the context of that, it may be the word owner, find the owner.
Oh, owner, okay.
Oh, you can.
Give it, actually, can give it to her.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Moving on. Item number 5, new business, discuss consideration of possible action on new business contract directly staff to take appropriate action. There's some new business. Item number 6, our consent docket 6.1, approval ratification of the joint city council and utility authority meeting minutes from May 20, 2021. 6.2, approval ratification of the May 2021 bi-weekly payroll and accounts payable. 6.3, approval ratification for donation of 75 foot ladder truck VIN number. I'm not going to get into the VIN number from the city of Dale City. 6.4, approval ratification of budget for fiscal year 2021-2022. Okay, we'll start off with 604. We'll remove that from the consent docket. And also 6.2, we move down to item number 7. So we get that with
And I'd like to move on to 6.3 of the consent docket, mostly just because I'd like to hear the chief Griffin talk about it for a minute.
I think he was going to talk about that.
Oh, was it?
It's okay. Yeah, it was. But that's fine. So we, as it stands right now, we only have one consent item, 6.1, which is the meeting minutes. So, and I'll take a motion on that.
I make a motion we approve the consent docket, agenda item 6.1, with the correction that I noted earlier.
Can I get a second, please? I'll second.
Trustee Councilmember Kane.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Trustee Councilmember Kane.
Abstain, I'm sorry.
Trustee Councilmember Thayer.
Yes.
Trustee Councilmember Williams.
Abstain.
Vice Chairman Vice Mayor Scanlon.
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Calvin.
Yes. Okay, item number 7 on our agenda is discuss consideration of possible action on items removed from the consent docket. Let's go ahead and do 6.2, the approval ratification of the May 2021 bi-weekly payroll and accounts payable. Can we get a motion on that one, please?
I'll make a motion to approve agenda item 6.2.
Second,
I'll
please.
second.
Yeah, I'm sorry, vote please, I'm sorry.
Trustee Councilmember Kennedy,
Abstain.
trustee Councilmember Fair,
Yes.
trustee Councilmember Williams,
Abstain.
Vice Chairman Vice Mayor Scanlon,
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Calvin.
Yes. Item number 6.3, approve ratification for a donation of one 2000 E1 75-foot ladder truck from the city of Dale City. See?
This is,
Give us the good news.
this is kind of a formality, as you all know, Dell City donating this truck to us. To buy this truck new for the city expense would be approximately 1.1 million. To buy it used, you're still looking at about 350,000 to 400,000. They gave it to us.
That's explained.
We have an interlocal agreement with this, which you should have all seen last council meeting. What that means is we made some agreements in mutual aid with them, which we would be doing anyway. But if they need us, or if they need to borrow that truck back, we'll loan that truck back to them, and both of the trucks are down. And for the first 2 years, we decided to cancel that agreement for whatever reason, which nobody foresees happening. But if we did, we have to get the truck back. After that 2 years, it's our to do with as we please.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
I'm assuming that we would house the truck then?
Yes, yes, absolutely. It's actually at the station. They can stop by anytime they like. Might as well relax and show chickens.
Did a real nice write up about it in the West City Beacon, so it's described. Yeah, pretty good.
Is there a, because I haven't seen it yet, but is there a sort of a forecasting, like we talked before, to know what repairs and annual maintenance of that truck will be?
Right now, repairs wise, they have done a phenomenal job with this truck.
Just general, I guess just general maintenance, so we know.
Generally, every year that's going to happen, we'll be certifying the ladder and certifying the pump, which certifying the pump is on every engine we have. It's about $150 a year for that. The ladder, I don't know the exact number, I don't want to give you a wrong number.
It's okay,
Just new to me.
it's probably, maybe in your report yet, I just haven't seen.
I haven't actually got a number back from the gentleman yet, that I'm gonna approach first to do it for us, because we're still a year after we have to do it. So we got a little while we can spend it in the next budget. We're working on getting the equipment on it, because it has to have specific equipment on it to be by NFPA standards to qualify as a ladder truck. Some of it we have moved over, others we're doing creative things to try to come up with the funds to do.
Will that be sort of on the wish list if businesses want to get together and try to help outfit this truck?
Absolutely, donations are always welcome
Yeah.
for equipment, absolutely. We're looking about, if we went out and bought everything brand new, which I don't plan on doing, but if we do, we're looking at about $40,000 for equipment.
So 40K would be a good target
Yes,
for our
absolutely.
businesses to come and
Yes,
help.
that includes 2,000 feet of large diameter hose, which hopefully that we won't have to buy. It's about $10,000 of it. I'm gonna try to get that from a couple places and maybe have extras, hopefully.
Because that's one thing most people don't know about a wish list for any of the departments. If somebody gives a donation with the intention of wanting to give it to our departments, there's no requirement of the city to do anything but put it into the general fund. I personally learned this sort of the hard way. So if you want to support the departments, the way to do that is to get from the city manager the items of the wish list, so you could spend the money specifically on that item and make sure that it goes to those departments.
I'm sure if there are any businesses right now that would like to donate 40,000, he's willing to.
That's
Absolutely.
Real big cake.
Yeah.
Great.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, all right, let's take a motion on that.
Make a motion to approve.
Yeah.
And I second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. But I'm trying to see.
Trustee Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
trustee Councilmember Fair,
Yes.
trustee Councilmember Williams,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Vice Mayor Scanlon,
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Calvin.
All right. We move down to our business agenda, discussion, consideration, possible action on business items to the Red City statute take appropriate action. We got 8.1 ISO report.
Absolutely. As I'm sure most of you are aware, we did an ISO rating, redid our ISO rating, which is supposed to be done.
Tell what ISO.
It's Insurance Service of Oklahoma's rating. What it is it determines a piece of what your insurance costs you, whether it be business or residential. It runs on a rating scale of 10 being the worst to 1 being the best. And depending on that, depending on a lot of other things, personal things for people as far as like credit, history of claims, things of that nature, all collectively make your insurance rates. We, in 2013, had an ISO rating of 8. In 2014, that was knocked down to a 6. And as of June 1st of 2021, we are an ISO 3. This is just showing those numbers. What that means, 1 through 10 is easy numbers to think about. But I want to step further and talk to the insurance agency, or insurance commission, let me rephrase that, of Oklahoma. Each step of improvement, depending on, like I said, a lot of other outside factors that we can't control, but their average is 4 to 8% per class drop. And the numbers they gave me, a residential home, 1,000-foot square home worth $100,000, it will save them potentially between $468 and $936 a year.
Wow, that's phenomenal.
Potentially. Please understand it's potentially. There's a lot of things involved in that. That rating is solid for 5 years. We don't have to redo it. Okay. We're going to, because we're going to go better. But we don't have to. Which means in 5 years, you're looking at, on the low end for residential, it should be about a $4,200 savings.
That's amazing.
So, also, what that means to our businesses is even bigger. Here again, please understand, these are from the Insurance Commission. They're their estimates based off of that. But as you can see, for a business, you're talking $4,200 to $8,000 a year that this could save. Multiply times 5. Also let's take our bottom number on residential. I like this number because everybody always asks why we do it for fire. The bottom number is 2,400 for residents. We have approximately 1,400 residents. That's $3.2 million. If everybody capitalizes and able to get it as a potential savings of $3.2 million to our city. Any questions? So we have the full report. It's a huge report. It's not that thick. But if anybody wants it, it's tedious and all it is the numbers and scoring. But we have it. You can get a copy of it from City Hall if you want. For you to look at. I didn't want to run off that much paper just to show you the last page. That's my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Wow.
We need you more to
I think you got one more item. Don't sit down.
I do.
Yeah, the brush pump.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there is no action item on 8.1. 8.2, discussion and possible action surplus 1991 Pierce dash pumper. I'll read the VIN since this one is a little different. The VIN number is 4P1CT 01F1MA000619, known as engine 524.
I really don't want to get rid of this truck. This is the first truck I ever rode on. Several of them. Could have been on this part last time. Originally, we were going to pay it forward and donate it to Forest Park. They don't have a facility or the funds to do that. That was at your discretion. We were going to do that. So instead, we're going to see what our options are as far as trying to sell it. The best way to get the most out of it is to get some of the funds for the ladder truck equipment. So we need to surplus first. I'll take it home if you want.
All right, I make a motion to approve agenda item 8.2.
Second.
Surplus the truck.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. To get the motion and second.
Trustee Councilmember Kennedy?
Yes.
Trustee Councilmember Fair?
Yes.
Trustee Councilmember Williams?
Yes.
Vice Chairman, Mayor Scanlon?
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Calvin?
Yes.
Do we have anywhere that I hadn't noticed a surplus auction date coming up? We had talked about surplus in the past, and we never moved any further on a bunch of items. Have I missed it, or is that something we need to put on the agenda again?
Probably so. Yeah, we can do that.
We did surplus some, cans that you all voted yes on from the water meter switch out. That was the only thing that we've actually voted and been approved on. But yeah, I agree, we probably need to.
Yeah, there should be a giant list that we went through and it never went on the surplus.
Well, we will definitely get on that, we're on the next month's meeting.
Okay. 8.3, removal of all parks board members, non-replace system. In 2020, council, the city of Spencer had a municipal bond that it incurred, I believe, in 2008, 2007.
August of 2007.
Right, and so what, we had a meeting with the bond company, and at that point in time, we were able to discuss refinancing that bond and being able to draw out some monies through the resale of that bond, refinancing of that bond. Part of that refinancing provided money for some of our tax liabilities, which we're still working on. The second part of that was to redo Premium Park, which we asked them to refinance for us due to its crumbling structure. It's, as we all know, it's in terrible shape. And so the bond company came out and they got all our financials, asked us to do some, they asked us for our financials, approve the financials, we refinanced the bond, and contrary to some of the things that's out in social media, it takes you have to have a super majority to pass a bond issue. It's not a simple majority. It's not 2 or 3. It takes 4 of the 5 council members to actually pass a bond resolution. With that being the case, council, and it has to be 4 members of this, the way this board is made up, it takes 4 members. It was 4 council members voted yes to approve the bond. With that being the case, this was in 2020. We have an obligation to the bond owners to expend those bonds for the projects that we told them we were going to take care of. This is regulated by the Securities Exchange Commission, the feds. They do not play around with their money. All funds that are expended through these bonds are paid directly from the bond company, from the bank that actually has the bond money. The only thing the city does is submit a expenditure or a, we have to provide an invoice, that's what we're looking for. We have to provide an invoice to the bond company for a project showing that we are expending the bond money for this project. We have 3 years to do this. As I said, first thing was we had to take care of our tax liability. We're in that process. We've expended funds to take care of part of that. Second thing, as I said, the second major project that we had to do, that we said we were gonna do, is to redo Crimson Park. We have 3 years to do it. We already have gone past year 1. We're moving into year 2. No dirt has been moved. Nothing has been done. The plan was for the Parks Board to spearhead the cleanup of that park. Of course, we had COVID, but every other board within the city of Spencer has met on a regular basis. whether it be Zoom or any other way. Even though we shut down City Hall, council met via Zoom, planning met by Zoom. Our other major board, which is the Board of Adjustments, that's an at-will board. They only meet when there's an action item. The Parks Board has not submitted, as far as I know, any meeting plans. With that being the case,
Now,
hold
you
on,
said
let
that,
me
so.
finish, let me finish. With that being the case, with that, and I shouldn't say any, because that's wrong. There has been, I don't know, but anyway, with that being the case, Mr. Long, before he decided to end his employment here as city manager, discussed the possibility of taking on the project manager role and addressing all the projects that are out there that the city has going. The water meter project, the project of cleaning up Franklin Park, and a couple other things that he's got going. With that being the case, and I'm going to speak for him, and if I'm incorrect, you can correct me. But I believe that at that point in time, which was at the end of 2020, Mr. Long offered Parks Board the opportunity to come out and visit other facilities to start getting an idea of what it would take to clean that park up and give some different ideas. I don't believe.
I'll answer, I'm sorry.
No, okay, I thought somebody was.
No.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
I thought, with that being the case, I don't believe that any action has been taken to secure any plans, get any input. I know that it says that, hey, look, the city council needs direction, but we have a Parks Board that should be their function. That should be their function. Now, it's not just, a Parks Board is not just responsible for one park, they're responsible for every park. And every park in the city is in complete disrepair. I think we have we have pictures of every park in this city, and they're all in complete disrepair. With that being the case, we are under the gun as far as time. What this item does is say, hey, look, we've got to get a Parks Board that is going to be functional and be able to go in and help spearhead the process of getting this park going. We are under the gun. We have to have these funds and have these funds spent on that park for the cleanup and the restoration of that park within 3 years. Contrary to misinformation, there has not been any zero contract signed for anybody. There's not any signed contract. I haven't signed a contract. Ms. Jackson has signed a contract. Ms. Long, have you signed a $70,000 contract? Yeah. I haven't.
Who cut the arena up then? Who cut the arena up?
What?
Who cut the arena up?
Hold on, he's asking who did the arena, are you done explaining,
No,
can I
no,
have
hold on,
my say now?
No, just a second. The arena was designated by council way back in sometime in.
We was promised the last meeting that we could ride in the arena.
Okay, this was the deal.
That was the last one.
Okay.
Last
I've
one
got
we
the
had
date.
Sports Man. We was promised we could ride in the arena.
This is the deal.
It's cut up, man.
Hold on, just a second. Part of that was, what's happening is, we were gonna demo the arena. Listen to me. Open it up, listen to me. This is the deal. We said we were going to remove the arena and leave the pins that were there for how can you build an arena and you?
There was nothing wrong with the arena, we was probably allowed with the arena, sir.
Okay, let me go ahead.
No,
Fred, you've
no,
given
hold
your,
on,
you've
hold on.
given your say now, so let me go
Let
ahead
me
and
finish,
you're
let me
asking,
finish,
you're
let me
answering
finish,
questions.
let me finish, let me finish, let me finish, let me finish. This is the deal. We, in 2020, we gave the bid, we put out for bid the removal of the arena and all the structures out there. The pavilion, the bathrooms, all of that. That was awarded to Midwest Records, and it did go out to bid. It wasn't direct awarded, it went out to bid. I don't remember how many actual bidders we had, but it went out to bid to Midwest Records. With that being the case, when it went out to bid, we said, okay, we're going to let them take over. There was some issue about making sure that we could have pins out there. Now, there was pins out there and they were removed by someone and taken to their private residence. Then also, at this past weekend, we had someone that put equipment in the arena for their event. They were doing rodeos and they wanted to remove the equipment that they put in the arena and for their event before it got wrecked. He was given instructions on how to remove those. The instructions were talk to the city manager talked to the wrecking company that had the bid. They said, yeah, you can come get your things, and actually it helps us get things out the way. As far as the pins were concerned, so with that being the case, and with that being the case, the biggest thing is this: we have to get the arena and that whole park redone. It has to get done. It's council's role in this whole process should be approving the projects at the funding level. We have to get it started. Right now, there has been no meetings, nothing to say, this is what we plan to do, not one thing. And if there has been, I don't know if anybody's seen any plans from our parks board to say, this is our plan, here's a piece of paper, here's anything.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
now that you started your conversation off with 2007. So let's look at August of 2007. In August of 2007, the city situation was such that they had to take out a $4 million bond. And the bond at that time was because we had a crumbling infrastructure. And in order to be able to properly bring in Walgreens, we had to put a water system down 23rd Street. So we ran water lines down 23rd Street. And then with all the projects that were on the board, which included Woodland Park, crumbling infrastructure, and other sides of town where more than half of our residents still don't have city water or city sewer, the council voted to go ahead and put city water and city sewer over in the Hicks Edition east of Post, the annexed edition of Spencer. And that project was then completed. But by then, the money was running out. And it was in the next couple years, by 2011, that the state auditor came out and said the audit to the city was the worst he'd seen in 30 years. And at that point, the city made promises that they were going to start cleaning up the numbers. But we didn't have any money at that point to do anything other than continue to maintain our crumbling water infrastructure. And so the years continued by, and about 3 years ago, they finally decided we needed a CPA to come in here. And the CPA came in and said there had been no balance sheets rectified in 10 years. Hold on, you brought up the bond, so this is where we're at. So, no balance sheets, no reconciliations. Can you imagine your checkbook for your home if you hadn't looked at the balance sheet or anything in 10 years to find out how much money you had, or how many checks had gone through, or what amount the checks were that went through? Well, that's the situation we were in. And we have paid a very hefty amount to have a forensic accounting service come in, which is still ongoing. We are still not up to date, which is why we weren't able to do the budget we needed to do. And we don't have the amount of money we're supposed to have in our accounts in accordance with state statutes. So at that point, with the Zoom meetings going on, they had council, management, had a bond company come in. And the bond company came in and they said, well, without having balance sheets and without having any clear audits for 3 years worth of audits, it's gonna be very difficult. But because we had so many debts, which include unpaid debts to the IRS for our payroll employee taxes that weren't paid, which in fines and fees could be up to $1 million. And so now you have to pay back the money which we borrowed. So we borrowed $4 million, and we paid some on that, but I have not seen exactly how much was paid back or how much was still owed, which is why yesterday I wouldn't allow the budget hearing to go forward because I hadn't seen any of the budget numbers. And at that point, during this Zoom meeting, it was discussed that they would shop around the bond, to shop a bond for us. But the citizens were not brought in to say what projects are important to you. And a utility bond is really supposed to be infrastructure only, needed infrastructure, because you're not asking the citizens, but you're incurring a debt on their behalf. Your utility bills all keep going up. And the reason utility bills are going up is not because of services, it's because of debts that the city has incurred. And because, and I cannot blame this on Jim or Frank, because of past management decisions to not make sure the finances were what they're supposed to be. But it doesn't matter whose fault it is, the debt is still there. So the city has your $4 million that they had to pay out. Okay, now they've got the unemployed, the payroll employee taxes, that has to be paid. State taxes have to be paid. We have to pay this auditor, and the debts are mounting. And in the meantime, your utility bills are going up by 5% every single year. And that would have been paid off at a certain time period when the $4 million was paid. By taking on the 8.7, now it's 27 years. And I put a chart out on so everybody could see what that total comes to when you start compounding interest 5% every single year, what your utility bill goes up to. So when they talked about doing the parks, which was news to me because the parks has been something that's been very important to me ever since I moved to Spencer. The Parks Board was formed, and in September of 2019, they gathered together everybody at Kringland Park. Everybody they could find that cared about the park, and they said, we're having a cleanup day. This is great. We're gonna get rodeos going again here. We're gonna get all this trash. We're gonna cut things down. And the same citizens that always volunteered showed up, and they volunteered because they care. And at the same time, Frank Calvin went to our Parks Board leader and said, there's a great plan coming for the Parks Board, but I can't tell you all about it right now. It'll be coming shortly. So we asked for those plans to be put before the public because it's your town, and not everybody in this town rodeos, 2,600 households. If they're gonna be paying a utility bill and it's gonna be rising, they have a right to know what they're paying for. But you're hearing this plan was to use $900,000 out of this bond to improve the park. And what many of you have said is the same thing I've said. A rodeo arena is a rodeo arena. You paint it, you put good dirt in it, and the history from that rodeo arena means a lot to the people of this town because it was built in the 60s and the families here wanted the rodeo arena to remain. So even though they'd already gotten their bond, and even though they had set it up to go ahead and have it torn, the entire pavilion and bleachers and arena torn down, on February 18th, we have a council meeting where we have, at that time, Mr. Long, who's now gone from city manager to doing project manager, and the citizens said, we want to keep this arena. So we voted to, at least for now, keep the arena. At that time, Midwest Wrecker was coming out in a week, and I personally called Mr. Long and I said, I've asked before in the meetings if we could have citizens bid on all the equipment that was out there. Let them come cut it out. But now we've got Midwest Wrecking coming in to tear it out. Can the citizens take whatever's there that's already set to be torn out? He said, I'll check with Midwest Wrecking. If it's not a problem, I'll let you know. Called me back. He said, it's all marked what's going to be torn down. If the citizens want it, they need to be careful, let's leave that pavilion, it's too dangerous. So citizens came out, everybody looked at it, that it was too big of a project, and there was a big mark on the pins that are attached to the arena. Well, if we're leaving the arena, the pins that are attached, I thought should have been remaining with it. So I texted Mr. Long and I said, wait a minute, people are wanting to know, can they cut the chutes out? Can they cut the, well, it's slated. And I told everybody, hold on, I don't think that's what the citizens meant. So I asked for an emergency meeting. We had an emergency meeting on March 16th, special meeting. We voted to keep the attached bullpens attached to the arena. So now you've got the arena and you've got the bullpens. That means the only thing that's supposed to be torn down are the bleachers and the pavilion and the pile of bleachers that was carried in and set up at the front, if anybody wanted to use those, because that's an awful lot of good steel and there's a lot of people around who pipe and cable. It's what maintains their ranches. They know what to do with it. They could have done great things with it. But we were all very happy. We celebrated. Now it's stopped. And there was more talk about what was going to be done. And by then, the Parks Board and the citizens were completely joining together and saying, wait a minute, why are we tearing this down? We, the citizens, don't want this torn down. If we're going to build a new arena, let's see the plans first. Put it down here, put it up at City Hall so the citizens can see it. It's their town. Nothing was put down here for the citizens to see. A couple things were put out online, and I had to go out and say, I can't even get it to pull up. Some of the council members went down to a meeting, which 3 of us can't attend at the same time. So even if you have a meeting at OU to show the council what this park is going to be, 3 of us legally could not go down there at the same time and meet. That's city business. You would have had to do it here,
Correction.
in front of the public.
We never went down there.
So-
We came here. They came here, Ms. Mendoza was
Still here playing.
Miss,
So the plans were not put down here before the public so that the public could see it. And at the same time,
you see?
well, all this,
Didn't see it. Oh, come on, she didn't interrupt you.
I'm sorry, you go ahead, I'm
She
sorry,
didn't interrupt you.
I'm sorry,
Come
you're
on,
right, go
give her
ahead.
that, give her this deference, please.
well, all that's going on as we're hearing about things, and even before the meetings in February and March, we had tremendous weather that hit the town, and we were out without water. And fortunately, Mr. Long put together some really good projects to start getting us on track to where we have water, we have a plan. But it also brought to light some of the things many of us know. We have an aging infrastructure and more than half of our town, again, without city water and city sewer. So how is it fair to not tell the citizens you've taken out a bond on their behalf that's going to raise their water, their utilities, not just water, all utilities by 5% every year for 27 years, when a lot of them don't even have city water or city sewer. Maybe they only have trash, which is required by city ordinance that you have to have it. So if the only thing you have is a trash bill, and maybe you have city sewer services, you've got about a $43 bill. On an average bill of $120, as it goes up in 3 years, that will have doubled on the 5%. And when you start looking at the chart for what that means to citizens, citizens have to be able to say, my property value is increasing because we are doing these great things for the town. And city water, city sewer are all great things for people who have an aging septic tank. But it is hard for citizens who don't have an interest in rodeo to really understand why we would tear out an arena or anything else at a park on their behalf without bringing that to their attention. And because the debts we have, yes, are things better because we know where the debts are? I would say so, because at least we're starting to know what we owe. Have they been paid? No. Has the IRS been paid? No. And when you still look at this, we still have, well, we may not have debts all over the place, we still have $8.7 million in debt. And no matter how you look at it, we have to pay that now before we can get any new money to start improving things. And we're hoping that all the businesses that are coming to town and all the great things that are coming to town are going to pay that debt that we have and maybe even give us more money to add to it. But the citizens across the town have made it pretty clear. They didn't want that rodeo arena torn down. And when the council has voted not once, twice in council meetings, and then gave their word in front of the Parks Board meeting that that arena would not be torn down, it should have been torn down. The only equipment that was taken, and I need to add this after he said this, when they first said on the day that it was going to be torn down, it was marked to be torn down, and I had called Mr. Long, and I said, citizens are taking it. I said, there's old road barriers around the pavilion. Is that okay to take? Well, yes, they're marked, you can take them. Okay, so several of us went down and we cut those off because we thought we got other parks. We're gonna go find out what to use this material. And then I was accused of theft for taking out old road barriers. Even when I had the permission, I was accused of being a thief for taking these road barriers out, old road barriers that were around the pavilion. So I take it pretty serious when on Saturday morning I get a call from a citizen in tears who's now yelling at me. Our rodeo ring is gone and you lied to us. You wouldn't let me take it, but you let other people take it. All the things that I wanted have now been removed. And I said, that's not possible. The council didn't vote on that. And I didn't have to go down there because citizens went down there before I could even get down there. And when they got down there, they were met with a crew of men who do not work for Midwest Wrecking. I confirmed that today. They are not with Midwest Wrecking. And they made it very clear that there was a contract for $70,000 worth of pipe and a meeting last week that none of the council that I know of were present for, and a check written out. So either the men that are standing there are lying that they came to a meeting here last week, or we're just not getting it, and maybe none of us know what's going on. But no matter what, the council right now looks like a bunch of liars, and that's all of us.
No.
Can I say something? Is it okay to speak now? Okay, thank you. I want to speak towards, first of all, I want to say I understand that this explanation that we're getting, they're long. And that's because we're getting a lot of calls. I'm new to the council, but I'm getting calls starting at 8 o'clock in the morning to almost 10 o'clock at night, because our citizens are concerned and they want to be heard. So it may seem long, but everything that's going on up here is important. They tell me every day, this is important. They need me to listen to them. That's why I'm here. So I just want to say, I will try to make this as short as possible, but I'm not gonna abbreviate the experience of the people as they shared with me and as I see this. Before I was even elected, we were out, and this goes to the credit of Mr. Scanlon. Before I was even elected, we were out, they called me out to Greenland Park because there was a concern that they would be tearing down the arena. And there were some wonderful people out there riding horses. And I sat there and I thought, you know what? Maybe we should just make a phone call. Maybe we should just call and communicate and say, can we stay this? Can we stop this until we get the residents' input in this? Because it was a brouhaha. If there was a brouhaha, it was. And people's emotions were being stirred up to no end. To Mr. Scanlon's credit, I tried to contact both Mr. Scanlon and Mayor Frank, and Mr. Scanlon was the first to pick up, and we began speaking. And I explained to him that I was out here, told him what was going on, and asked him, is there any way that the council can figure out how to stave off this, at least stop, so they can get the buy-in from the citizens? If they got the residents on board, I told them, I believe I said, that's the power. When we all are on one accord, that's the power. He said, send me some pictures, shoot me some video, let me make some phone calls and see if we can make this happen. He called me back later and he would give me updates. He said, I'm almost here. We're gonna contact so-and-so. We're gonna contact these people. Or we're almost here. We're gonna contact them. So what he did, he finally called back and said, I'll wait till he finally called back and said, it's done. We did it. And we are going to announce it in the next council meeting. So I attended that meeting, of course, as a citizen. I had not won anything. But to our surprise, they had determined that they were going to turn the entire process over to the Parks Board. And they had some items that they want the Parks Board to follow. One, they told them that they were going to be responsible with communicating with the residents, getting them involved, getting their input, and organizing, getting information from them and prospective ideas for the park. Two, they needed to make sure that they dealt with everything going on this, and once they decided, it will then come up to council. Council will give the yay or the nay, on their plans. And most importantly, they said a condition precedent, what had to happen was they need to figure out how to deal with those huge mountains of wood chips. They couldn't do anything until that was taken care of, until that was done. So now what I did later on, from my school, my teacher at Spencer, I contacted Gary Johnson from the county. I said, Gary, we've got these wood chips out here. What are we gonna do about them? It was then that I learned that it wasn't just our wood chips. There were wood chips from places all over. You know, I thought, okay, well, that makes sense, because I thought, man, Spencer has a lot of wood chips. But he informed me that they had every intent on moving the wood chips. And they were in processes, and what they were doing, they were working that into what they were regularly scheduled to do, their other projects. So when it rained, they came and they would move the chips. I even got to notify the city manager about that, because his question was, well, there's some low-lying areas, maybe I can move some chips in and deal with that. And I have the email where I communicated with Miss Jackson, and told her, we've got this going on. She was appreciative of that connection, and sending it to her, said, hey, let's go. This is my concern. After that, we had a Parks Board meeting. Parks Board meeting here. There was a meeting here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the concern is this. If when we listen to the rationale for removing the Parks Board, it's because time is of the essence. You said there are 3 years left to move. I don't know that a timeline was specified in any of the meetings, in any of the communication going forward. You said 1 year has passed, and due to COVID and all of that, that a lot of things have gone on, and I think the inference is that they should have been meeting and doing everything. But we must remember the stipulations that the council laid down for them. Council said this had to be dealt with first before anything. And also, please, thank you. They also said, the council also laid out that Parks Board would make the decision on the demolition, what gets torn down. That's included in the records. So to say at this point that we want to remove them, you said no?
Go ahead.
No, if maybe I missed something.
No,
I'll give deference to that, maybe I missed something.
You know, that'd be the engineer's job, to determine structural safety.
Okay, yeah, to take that stuff down. So, but to say that they're not doing anything, I've got the pictures, we've shared the pictures with the city manager, we've shared the pictures on the website, not on the website, on the Facebook page for the Parks Board. We shared them to let them know what's going on.
I'm sorry, go ahead, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get, go ahead, I'm sorry.
You wanna ask me right there?
No, go ahead. I'm gonna go back at you.
Okay. So to say that they need to be removed first because time is an issue, I believe that's rather disingenuous when you did not specify that this is the timeline. To say that they're not doing anything in their other parks, I've even seen, even before I got on council, works that they were doing all around at these parks. As a matter of fact, I saw when they came to City Hall and got together and removed all these limbs and did all this heavy work. We have to be equitable. We have to be just in what we're doing, and this is quite, please, I'm
fine, go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
So we have to be equitable, we have to be just in our dealings, and we have to be fair. If it's because you don't like what they're saying, you and I both know people are gonna say all kinds of crazy stuff. And okay, well, if you don't care, if that's the onus, then let's look at fact. Let's look at the practicality of what we're doing, if you're trying to remove them. If, for the reason I said forward, that really counteracts what you have, what you stated, there's no rationale as to why you would like to remove the Parks Board.
And there was no budget set for the Parks Board. You're asking for the parks to be cleaned up. It's been the Parks Board gathering volunteers together, and we're using our own equipment, our own fuel, our own chainsaws, and our own tractors.
Hold on, they come back this way. Okay, let's go here. Mr. Long is our project manager that has been designated to help guide this, our bond projects as far as criminal park. He has been designated the person to help spearhead and give guidance and be the intermediary between council, parks board, and things like that. We are still at the same, this isn't about personality. It's about trying to make sure we do what we got to do. The monies that were designated for this, through this bond project for that park was not for one arena, it was for the whole park as a whole. One of the things that you brought up was the trying to get rid of things within the park. As far as the wood chips, I'll start this and I'm gonna go back to the peanuts. The wood chips, due to the ice storm, the county came in and took on the expense of doing all the tree removal, because it was gonna cost almost $1 million for us to remove the trees. They, through FEMA, they came in and said they would take on the expense of doing all the work, doing all the paperwork. Only thing they asked us to do was provide a place, once they removed the trees, a place to put the chips until they could remove it. I believe most of it is done. There's still some there. County has come out and said that some of the low-lying areas, they're gonna try to move some of those wood chips to try to even up those areas out there. With that being the case, as far as the arena is concerned, it is still, I think it's still the desire to make sure that there's still a place for the people that use this on a regular basis to have a place to ride. I don't think that fact has ever changed. I don't think that's ever been anything that's changed. Now, what's out there, I can't tell you. I'm not a rodeo person, so I really can't tell you. As far as the arena is concerned, I'm not gonna say, oh, this is what you gotta have this way, because that's not my special. So, and I'm not gonna lie to anybody and tell you that, oh, I know what, we're not taking that. But I'm not gonna tell you what it takes to have ride the horses and do what you need to do on that. That's not something that I'm gonna lie to anybody and say, oh, wow, you need to have this, that, and the other. That, I'm not. But what I will say is this, the desire to make sure that there is still a functional use until all the projects are done, should still be done. And I think that, talking to Mr. Long, that has still been the plan, to make sure that there is still a place for the young people that go out there and ride in the evenings to still have a place to ride.
The rodeo arena is gone. I'm not sure what you're talking about. It's gone.
No,
It's not. It's gone.
it's gone.
What, I don't know what you're not listening to what's being said. The rodeo arena is gone.
Is the pink?
No, the road is gone.
It's gone.
He's asking him a question.
He's just asking you a question.
He's asking him a question.
He's
The mayor just asked him a question.
Now I'm gonna bet
Are you watching what's going on?
Excuse me, can I suggest something? Since the very beginning of this whole project and discussion, everybody's talking about nothing but the problem. None of us as a community is gathered together to come up with a solution to these problems. Can we talk solutions, not just problems?
Yes.
Can we have peace?
Yes.
Thank you.
And this
Can I ask if we have a solution?
ma'am. Oh, hey, ma'am.
You let us jump in.
Is this, no, no, this is up here.
You didn't interrupt him.
That's right, you didn't.
You didn't interrupt him.
Not in front of everything else.
Okay.
You didn't interrupt
Hold
him.
on.
Can we just take it down for a moment? Can we just take it down for a moment,
This is
please?
the deal.
Let's
This
take
is,
it down.
this is where we stand. We're talking about what has to happen now. We will have, with Mr. Long, should have been getting with our parks board, forming a plan of what that park should look like, how to do it, and those type of things. The proposal now is, we're gonna have a town hall. We're gonna have a town hall and get citizen input. Ms. Jackson will put together a survey to get out to our citizens with list of projects that can be done.
It'll be going out in this month's water bill.
You're not addressing the
Oh,
fact that
listen
it's
to me,
the rodeo
listen to
arena
me.
is going,
Right,
but let's
but
get back to
that,
that.
I'm getting back to that. If you give me.
Is it gonna come back?
Yeah, I'm gonna get to that.
The existing arena.
Here we go. Now, I don't know where the pins were the structure.
Arena?
I can't say the arena, when you say arena, to me, it means everything that's out there. I'm talking about the
Where the people ride the horses.
right, no. What I'm talking about is the game. And I think that was what we agreed, that we would leave where they could go out and ride. I don't know where where that stuff went to.
The bullpens is what
The
we
bullpen?
said. Well, in the minutes from the March 16th meeting, it said that we would preserve the bullpens. The bullpens are still there.
The bullpens are still
And
there?
that is all that the minutes say very specifically.
February 18th was the meeting you need to look at.
Well, March 16th, when we have this additional meeting, and you make the motion that we preserve the bullpens.
Right.
And we made a point to not touch or do anything to those bullpens, because that is what the motion that was made, those were the minutes.
We just said the bullpens so that they can ride. And as far as the arena itself.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah. That was, Ms. Jackson, and that was, the meeting that after we spoke with, Vice Mayor Scanlon, and we came in because I called them specifically that we wanted to make sure we preserve the bullpen because it was attached to the arena,
But you.
No.
You don't even have one without the other, you goofballs.
He doesn't even know where.
But the thing is this.
Because it's attached to the arena, so that's why
But
previous
do you have to have the arena itself?
The arena, the arena is the.
Right, I'm talking about, but we were asked to preserve the pen. So,
We asked as part of it because they said they were gonna keep the fencing.
Right, the
Wait, let me-
fencing. Right, wait.
They said they were gonna keep the fencing.
Right.
And then we learned that they were gonna remove the bullpens, but if you remove the bullpens, then the fencing would come down, so that's what,
Is
that's what.
okay, I'm sorry, so that's what you're saying, because they removed the.
Right, so the first part that, the meeting in February, that's when I said we're gonna preserve the fencing, which is what they call the arena.
Right.
They call that the arena, the fencing. And then the second part, the meeting, before I came on, that's the bullpens, because that was adjacent, that was connected to. So that was two part to save it.
And I think we're getting.
I think it's
I
just
think-
like understanding the definition of the arena.
I think our definition is too.
That's what it is, yeah.
I think our definition. is wrong.
Yeah.
But this is the deal. At the end of the day, we still, the purpose was to still provide a way for people to go out and ride until we build a new facility. I'm gonna say a facility.
Yeah.
A facility, okay? We're gonna get away from arena, we're gonna say a facility, right? And so, with that being the case, it was, the whole purpose was to make sure that if someone were out riding and we had
Babies were out there riding.
If they're riding, they have we were gonna move, the original plan was to move that out of that spot, put it over to the side, so that in that spot where the old facility is, could have a new facility put in place there.
I think their concern is that it was taken down outside of even council's directive. That what happened outside of the parameters of what council did.
Okay.
And in the we had kids coming up during that day, and they couldn't run.
Which is theft.
Okay, well, if that was the case, then everything that was removed out of there is theft. Right? It's not, you just can't say only things certain people take.
You realize what you just said? I'm gonna read.
No,
I'm
you
gonna
said
read this because
you
you just said, this is a communication between myself and project manager Huey Long. Okay? Because I wanted to make sure that we were doing the right thing. So in February, we have this meeting that says we are going to remain, the arena is going to remain. It says I'll be in Spencer, this is on March 12th, I'll be in Spencer Monday, 9 a.m. and talk to the contractor about the lumber in the pavilion, because we were hoping the lumber in the pavilion could go into the other parks. And I suggested it be taken before they took it down, because very little usable lumber will be left following the demo. They will start mid-week. On Friday, March 12th, they aren't taking the bleachers by the rodeo grounds, I asked. Yes, he said everything goes. They start midweek. The immediate fence around the rodeo grounds will remain. I said the arena, just the fence around the arena and the arena. The chutes and holding pins will be removed. Council vote was to remove everything but leave fence only for horsemen to ride in the arena. So then I asked that we have an emergency meeting. So we have an emergency meeting on March 16th. And on March 16th, we vote to also keep the bullpens, which are attached to the arena. So if all the processes that you yourself keep saying we're going to abide by, and we're following the processes, and Midwest Record had marked out what could be taken by anybody who wanted to take it, and then council at that point makes their vote, the second of two votes, that says the bullpens, chutes, all the ramps, that's going to remain. All that is attached, that is remaining. So that was supposed to be remaining. And then the next meeting was the Parks Board meeting in April, where you all promised, I was not in attendance, you all promised that it would not be coming down. So you keep trying to add on to things. We are in the middle of summer. We are at the peak season when these kids have got their horses. They're working them for rodeos. You have to have a rodeo arena to be able to work your horses. You can't just go out in the field and just hope that you got the right length. The horse has to have the fencing for rodeo events to be able to even practice to properly do what you're doing. It's a safety issue, but it's not only that. You can't train a horse to do something that it's going to be doing in the rodeo arena if you don't have an arena. And that's why all these kids, even from Edmond, are coming down here 6-7 days a week practicing with their horses. What was just torn down by, apparently you don't know either, without a vote of this council, was torn down illegally.
Here's what we saying. We can continue to not, we've got to get to the point where it is, let me start right here. Mr. Long, do you have anything to say before? Because we keep throwing your name out there. Would you like to say anything? Because we just, everybody's talking around you and you're sitting here. Would you like to say anything?
My wife told me to shut my mouth, but I'm gonna go ahead. First of all, let's make it really, really clear. From the engineer, the associate engineer to myself, we don't care what you do out there. This is your community. You make the final decision on everything. We have no stake in this. I can tell you, whatever was removed, it's not in Colorado, it's not in Utah, and I didn't see it in New Mexico. And I didn't see it in Missouri, And I didn't see it in Arkansas over the last 2 weeks, so I don't know where it is either, and I did not know who actually physically removed anything. Okay, that said, following from the very beginning on this project, there's been absolute chaotic confusion about everything. It is very clear from the very beginning on this, council made a decision, we're gonna go in there, we're going to build a brand spanking new arena. And the first mess we get into is, well, we don't want this, and we want this saved, and we want that saved. And then you started cutting and chopping what you wanted to say. And from that point forward, it's been a cluster. The council made the decision for me to meet with the park board. I brought the engineering plans, which Shamia has in her office. That meeting was absolutely the worst meeting I've ever attended in my life. I walked out the door. Nobody wanted to hear what was going to happen at the park. Nobody wanted to see the plans. I had them sitting right here on this table. All they want to do is yell and scream and fuss and fight all night long. And I turned to the engineer and I said, I'm out of here. Because it's obvious this meeting was to be a public meeting to give input on what was wanted at that park, and absolutely nothing took place. Nothing. Except a bunch of fussing, fighting, and arguing. And we're still doing it now. It doesn't matter who took what out. It's gone. It's not there. And it probably is not coming back. But here's the reality. A brand new arena is going to be built at that park. Now we keep talking about 3 years. For your information, when I got here, I discovered the 07 bond had not been spent in a timely manner, and we had to go in and do an arbitrage audit on those funds because we exceeded the 3-year limit. So when the mayor says we have 2 years, what he's referring to, if those funds are not expended in the next 2 years, we have to go back and do an arbitrage audit for the Internal Revenue Service. Because what the IRS does not want you doing is taking this money and investing it and making interest on it. Cities were doing that all over the country. As a matter of fact, this arbitrage law spun out of the city of Oklahoma City. They had a gazillion dollars in road money that was never spent. But the feds came back and said, no, cities and towns, you got 3 years to get it done. If you don't do it, we're going to penalize you for it. So that's the deal. Whatever you end up doing, I just want you to really understand, we will do whatever you want to do. There are plans. You've had plans in this city hall on that park for several years. Plan after plan after plan has been presented, and nothing has ever been done to that park except watch it fall to the ground. At the end of the day, you are going to have a brand new arena. You have no choice, because that's what the bondholders, and that's what you promised the bondholders that you were going to do. So you're going to have a new park. You're going to have a new pavilion. You're going to have a new rodeo ground. You're going to have walking trails out there. You're going to have playgrounds where kids can go play and recreate. I know there's even been discussions about having ball fields out there where kids can, At one time, you had a football league out there. And the whole objective to this entire process, if we as a community don't reach the kids, you are going to lose your city. And that part has the greatest potential of economic development for this city. If you don't believe me, and I've invited the Parks Board, call me, I'll get you out to Mustang, Oklahoma, and I'll let you see 160 acres of the most dynamic park you've ever seen in your life that has caused that city to explode with growth, economically and numerically. So I know it works. And you have a beautiful, beautiful area out there that can make a big difference to your citizens. But most important, families love to recreate. We had the University of Oklahoma call us and said, we want to join you. This is the equestrian division. Let us give you some ideas. They gave us some ideas. The only problem with most of their ideas, they were bazillion-dollar ideas. But you know, even in that, we talked about having, especially for this community, having riding trails in and out of the city to that park as a central location. And really turning it into a mecca where young children can come in and be trained in the care of equestrian type activities, how to take care of your horse, how to feed your horse, how to groom your horse, how to prepare your horse for an event. We even talked about having some exercise facilities out there. I've been in a community where we actually, to our rodeo grounds, we went in and built stables. Because one of the issues we had, where do you keep a horse? We had a lot of horse lovers in Miami, Oklahoma. We built stables for them. And they could rent stables from the city. So there's great things can happen. And I guess the message, and engineer and I talked at length about this today. He said, whatever you do, please convey, we are at your disposal. And whatever this community decides they want, we'll get it done. And I will guarantee you, every dime will be accounted for, because I'm not going to jail over misappropriation of my funds for that park.
Say it out loud.
I ain't going there. As a matter of fact, as it is right now, any penny that's spent out there comes through the engineer and myself on any project that we're doing. So, whatever we resolve on this, I just want you to know, you are absolutely on the cutting edge of having one of the greatest, most dynamic parks for this entire area. I want you to think about something, and I will shut up. I want you to know tonight what your fire chief announced to you. There's a component of that he didn't talk about. You were at absolute zero in the realm of code enforcement. For the first time in 10 years, a part of this total ISO package, they have come in and are doing flip-flops because of the work that was done right here to get our code enforcement active. That plays into this ISO rating. And the amount of money that was brought to the table tonight in that one situation, do you realize you are the only city, I would venture to say, in the state of Oklahoma tonight that's sitting here with a 3 ISO rating? A city of less than 5,000, and you're sitting here with a 3. And I want to tell you, with that ladder truck, the next time they evaluate that, get ready, it's going down even further. Unheard of. So you stand at the brink of incredible things happening here. And I really appreciate what this guy, he and I get our haircut at the same place. And it all comes by unity, working together, not fussing and fighting, working together and trying to make this thing work. And you're on the cutting edge.
Can I just say one point?
Yes,
Mr. Long, Mr. Long, I was there at the meeting, that Parks Board meeting, and I would be remiss if I didn't say that most of the people that attended that meeting, they had just heard about renovations or possible change to Creamland Park. So, understandably so, they were upset, and they came to that meeting to get clarity. Now, I understand it was, oh gosh, it was hot in that, it was heated and hot, but that's because of their passion for what they did. And what that meeting did do, it actually tripped something in a lot of our residents, and they began to investigate. They began to invest themselves. They're invested now in what's going on. So what you sense sometimes is the passion for what's right for Spencer. It's the passion as I teach our kids in school, and they tell me how they ride. It's the passion for the future, and that's what a lot of us are out here fighting for. It was hot now. That was a meeting right there. Yeah, that was a meeting. So,
Okay, this is what, to get back to our agenda item, and thank everybody for their support. We do have like I said, this isn't just about Greenland. Greenland has a strong financial component to it, which is vitally important. And as I said, this is, we're gonna build a park. And this is fed, and we promised people all across this country, they gave us a bunch of millions of dollars to refinance that bond and build a park. And our federal government is gonna say, hey, look, you're gonna spend this money the right way. And just for clarity, none of the expense of any of the bond projects, the city doesn't write any check, it goes straight through the bond company. We submit the invoice, I think I said this right at the beginning, so I need to make sure it's clear. Any expense that's submitted, that's part of this bond project, we give it to the bond company, they look at it, make sure it's legit, and then they pay the bill. Now, as I said earlier, it's not just one park, it's all the parks. Here, this is all the parks.
did they mention that about the playground equipment, and we got some new equipment in some there?
But it's been sitting back there for, and it's just need direction. Hey, look, even though there is a budget, it can give city staff, say, or when we got parks, public works, have them go sit, okay? But that's still, we got five parks.
We have a member of the Parks Board that can at least address what you're saying, because you're making it sound like no work was done, and I sat on a tractor down here for 2 days in 10-degree weather, and I didn't see you down here. But I know a lot of our volunteers were down here, and when you don't have a budget and you're using your own money to run a tractor, please explain, if you've given no direction to the Parks Board, and the Parks Board had said that they were gonna meet, COVID just got over, now they can have meetings, they had it set up for next Thursday, they put together their packet, then they were told it had to be typed, they gave it to me to bring tonight, and I said, you don't have to type this, you can present it next week at your meeting. But they did come out, they did come to the parks, the enormous amount of tree limb removal that those volunteers was huge. That was a huge amount, I don't even think you understand how huge that was for a bunch of volunteers to show up and move that much lumber and timber from fallen trees. It was a giant project, and I haven't heard not one person say, you know what, we need to thank our council, our Parks Board, because they came out here in freezing temperatures, and they worked several days to clear the area around City Hall, around the Senior Center, and McCoy Park so people could walk. So if you're not at least saying the members are doing something tremendous and honoring them for the work they're putting in out of their own pocket, I'm not too sure what more you expect if you haven't said, I need a list of what mowing projects and where to send our workers, because the last I heard, we didn't have extra manpower because we're still working on broken water lines. So you have a Parks Board member here, and I think that Mike Clausen deserves the right to speak.
Go ahead, sir. We'll give you that opportunity, sir.
Well, I've sat here and I've heard, we haven't done this, we haven't done that. And all the communication is putting the blame that the Parks Board hadn't done this or that. I agree with Huey. We gotta come together.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Where the discord comes, Parks Board wants to work with you guys. The Parks Board wants to work with the citizens, because we are citizens. Okay? I've been going to that arena and every park in this town for 48 years. Okay? As much as it's our responsibility to reach out to y'all, I told you the other night at the chamber meeting that we need to work together. Your words, Mr. Mayor, were you're right. The next day, I get told you're wanting to get rid of us. If your words, as the mayor, as a person, as a man,
481 has been assigned to your
mean
facility.
anything, why are you trying to get rid of me tonight? And the rest of us? You just said, one of you, I don't know, because y'all were all talking amongst yourselves, that there was equipment back here at the Public Works Department. First I've heard of it. Tell me it's back there. I'll find you a park to put it in. I'll give you a recommendation. Okay? If you want to work with us, work with us. There's been all kinds of squabbling. You're absolutely right. Okay? I've also asked for the plans. At the crazy meeting that we're talking about, you stood right there. I sat in your chair. So as much as maybe we have done, so have y'all. Instead of blaming us that we haven't reached out to you guys, why haven't you reached out to us? Okay? You know, we get upset. We're going off of these meetings that both these council members have stated that this is supposed to happen, this is supposed to happen, this is supposed to happen. Then we get upset, and the citizens get upset when stuff happens outside of that. I'm not saying that what happened down there this weekend didn't need to happen, but it needed to be communicated before somebody just drives down there and finds it. If she wants it removed or allows it, how about communicate with the Parks Board? I've asked you numerous times for the plans since this all started back a year ago. Show me what you want to put down there, and I might be your biggest supporter. We might talk about a few things. Everybody else that's out there that's upset might be your biggest supporter. But showing me 4 or 5 little emails that nobody can open from college students that are ideas is not a plan. That's an idea. So you guys, if you really want to reach out and you want to work together on the whole town, let's do it. But quit blaming the blame. Because all we're doing is reacting to stuff that's happening on the backside. And these citizens are reacting to stuff that's happening on the backside. Private conversations. I got stuff in that arena too. I don't care if I get it. But if everybody else can have stuff, I ought to get the opportunity too. What's good for one is good for us all. You don't know, you just admitted, you don't know a thing about rodeo arena. Okay? I told you in our Parks Board meeting that I've got horse experience and arena experience, and there's thousands of people in this town that do. They get upset when you don't talk to them. Maybe the Parks Board should have had a quicker town hall meeting, but so should the city of Spencer. So should the city council. It should have been a co-hosted town hall meeting. So do you want to work together with us, or do you want to continue the bickering? That's the question. I'll get off my soapbox.
All right. We have 5 parks in the city. Only one gets talked about by the Parks Board, and that's Kremlin. These images up here from 2 parks, just a very rudimentary exception. It is embarrassing how bad and broken and busted up and trashed these parks are. And one of the directives we gave the Parks Board, we all said, we don't know, we all haven't given us instructions, was to periodically give us reports on the state of our parks. How are our parks doing? Our parks are in total, there's no seats on that.
You like the budget?
Nobody, if we could budget for it, if we're, aware of it. That's what the Parks Board is supposed to do. It's great if they ran a volunteer to clean up branches, but the idea is to have good parks, report on the status of their parks, fix things when they get broken, let us know so we can budget, and we've had none of that.
That
It's not
equipment you're
just
showing,
about Greenland.
I'm
It's
sorry, that
about all
equipment
5
showing,
parks.
the equipment you're showing up there, that equipment was pulled out of the Habitat Park. When Habitat was built, they built that park and they put all that, almost every bit of that playground equipment you're seeing right there, benches and everything, that was put into Habitat. But the city decided there were too many kids hanging out down in Habitat and they didn't have enough control. So they removed it and put it all over town in pieces after it was supposed to be in that neighborhood.
All that stuff's in the Habitat Community Park right now. Everything on there. Those May 27th.
You're showing different parks. You got Douglas
We
Meadow,
got Douglas
Memorial
Meadow,
Park,
and we
there's
got
that, right?
Bentry is in that.
That's right, and Bentry is where part of that equipment was moved to. And whether you moved it or not, you weren't aware of it because that was before you, but what I'm saying is, when there's no money, there is no money to fix it.
A Parks Board should tell us to go out and keep an eye on the parks, and then alert the council, say, hey, we've got situations here, we've got splinters and broken boards and just crap out there. We need to fix it, and then it's the onus is on the council and on the city manager to make it happen. As it is, that stuff is, I don't know how long it's been like that, but it's embarrassing. We're underserving our children. We need a Parks Board who will actually look at the parks, report on the parks, ensure that fixes happen to the parks. It's great that we're gonna have a arena for people to ride. I'm thinking about the little kids who like to ride a little tricycle toy and spring totter and stuff.
The money that came from what was pulled up and is sitting down there, if it had been auctioned off to the citizens, could have put into all of those parks. Pipe and cable are very expensive, especially now.
We just, the Parks Board is not responsible for finding money to replace things. The Parks Board is responsible for reporting and keeping an eye on the state of the parks, so that we can serve our families by giving them good quality facilities. If we're not aware of it, anyway, that's
crazy. We did speak about. We're going to, yeah, we're gonna let this young lady and then that gentleman, then we're gonna go ahead, because we can spend all night debating.
I just wanted to know, like, if you delete the park, members, board, what is it that you're gonna do instead of that? Like, who's gonna take that over, that job that they've been doing?
I would say is to reconfigure that board. I would say ask for new volunteers. I would say ask for new volunteers.
Okay, so it's just gonna be a appropriation of members on the park board?
Yes, it's not, this agenda item does not dissolve the board as an entity of the city board. It just says that let's ask for new volunteers. Yes, sir.
So, with the wiping out of the board, who's watching the board? If we get a whole nother board of volunteers, right, they're gonna probably do the same type of stuff. Where's the accountability for what the board does?
That goes to the chairman. The chairman leads.
The chairman of the board.
The chairman of that board leads the board and says, hey, look, this is the direction that this board.
So does that mean that the chairman of the board is technically responsible? You're talking about firing the whole board, right? Instead of firing just the chairman. I'm asking.
Yes.
Yes, that's what you're saying. Fire the whole board instead of the associate that's responsible for what everyone else does, the one who's in charge of content. You're not gonna fire the manager, you're gonna fire the entire board. Okay.
All right.
And that makes sense.
Thank you. With that being the case, we're 9 o'clock and we still have other agenda items. I will do this. So we're gonna close this item off. I'm gonna make a motion that on item 8.3, I make a motion that all of the park board members be removed. I'll make the motion. And I will second. I got a motion and a second. Can I get a vote, please?
Trustee Councilmember Kennedy,
No.
trustee Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
trustee Councilmember Williams,
No.
Vice Chair, Mayor Scanlon,
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Collins.
Yes. Item number 8.4 on our agenda is resolution to establish a fee schedule. Miss, with this 8.4, that is to establish a fee schedule for, open record. Yes.
We weren't able to locate, I know we have them somewhere, but our past city manager and the one before him, Lynn Marsh, we just weren't able to find them in our records, so I wanted to bring it before council to make sure that we can establish a fee schedule so that as citizens continue to request forms, that we can give them what our city has mandated as far as fees.
Is there a statutory fee schedule?
I think you added one to your packet, that we got from OML specifically.
Yeah, the OML.
Yes, ma'am, that's what we're using.
So we use that?
Yeah, well, we couldn't find it in our records, and I just wanted to make sure that council had a chance to look at it and approve it before we started giving it to citizens.
And I believe you mentioned, the OML is involved in this practice.
I'm sorry.
The OML had a part in this, you said.
We basically took their, we pretty much took their statute and put our name on it, yeah.
We can't charge people fees that have already requested information. When we make this decision tonight, it's either 10 or 30 days that it goes into effect. And anybody who has filed information up to that point won't be subject to the fees.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what she said.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right, with that being the case, take a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve agenda item 8.4. Fee schedule. And we did have one in the past, I remember we voted on it pretty about 2 years ago.
Can we specify the section, the OMA section that is, because if we say fee fee schedule, that's very generic.
Do we not have a copy of it in our, in the agenda packet, the one that we are recommending?
Yes.
Okay. I just said if we can include the section in the recommendation.
I'll read the, well, I don't think until we pass the resolution, it doesn't actually have a resolution until we actually pass it, that right? Until city vote, so we're not.
I can't hear.
I mean, we have no, yeah,
Yeah.
so to pass it, we'll be able to give it a number.
It doesn't get a number until it's actually passed. But you need to specify, I think you want to specify what.
The source was from, on there, that specific. OML, sorry.
Thank you, ladies. So the state station number is on there.
Right.
Thank you.
We got a motion. I think we got a motion.
We have an extra copy.
Yeah.
No, I did do that.
The employees? What, you
I don't, yeah, I don't know.
They were all sitting on the seat when you walked in. Does anybody else need a copy?
Sure. I have no preference on the website, so.
We got a motion and we got a second, can we get a vote, please?
Lacking some information.
Yes, I like the text.
He made a motion.
Trustee Councilmember Kennedy,
Abstain.
trustee Councilmember Bell,
Yes.
trustee Councilmember Williams,
Abstain.
Vice Chairman Vice Mayor Scanlon,
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Calvin.
Yes. 8.5, consideration, discussion, and possible action to establish a policy prohibiting city council person from directing or requesting the city manager appoint or remove officers or employees and from participating in any manner in the appointment or removal of officers and employees of the city and giving orders on ordinary administrative matters to any subordinate of the city manager, either publicly or privately, and directing the city attorney to write a letter to any council member who is alleged to have violated this prohibition, warning against such action.
Isn't that redundant? There's already a state law that says that council members aren't to direct employees, and you all are not supposed to have interactions with them. So if council members are coming down here to City Hall and working with anybody other than the city manager, they are in violation every single time they talk to an employee.
I think it's giving direction as in great. It's not having a discussion. I think what it is giving direct orders that is being supervision.
But that's still covered under that statute. So there would be.
Because you're a supervisor over the employees, they don't have a choice but to take what you're saying as a direction. So if you direct them to send out a newsletter, if you directed them to add it onto the webpage, if you directed them to work with anything other than direction given out here at this council meeting by the council as a body, you are giving directions. And the position of mayor and vice mayor does not allow any difference in there when it comes to the state law. Because appointed mayor and vice mayor have different rules than elected mayors. And so it is redundant because the state law is clear. You can't go running around telling the water department what to do. And you can't run around telling the police and fire what to do. You're supposed to, if there's a complaint about it, the employee could go to, or the council person could go to the city manager. And if that was the point, at that point there was a problem, then it should be written up. But there's already a state law, so you're making you're making something redundant that you feel like you may be able to apply to one, but I can guarantee you, the moment you apply it to one, I've got a list.
I do too.
All right.
Is there a question to me?
Is this redundant?
It's just redundant, it's state law.
Well, it is a state law.
You're gonna, yeah, this is
I,
like.
actually, word for word, it's actually almost. Also, this is a state statute, it starts out by saying, except for the purposes of inquiry, the council and its members shall deal with the administrative services of the city solely through the city.
Right, right.
And then the rest of this is whatever we have from the state statute.
So therein lies the rub. Why wouldn't we have to put that in here if this is always statutory? Was there something that precipitated us putting it in? Would you like to have that discussion? Because otherwise it is redundant. We know that we should not do that.
Okay.
So
We can, if we're gonna abide by the state statute, and I think we can move on. If we know that if that is the case, and we don't need to make it a part of our general, ordinance, then.
I agree with that.
I'm hoping you are clear that does include you.
I hope you know that I do know that.
Okay.
And I do not give.
I'm just making sure, because every time direction is given and it's coming not from a council meeting, I'm not sure where it's coming from, because it didn't happen in a council meeting.
So
90% of my discussion is with Miss Jackson, unless I come up here.
Yeah, that's inquiry. If you're inquiring, you still can't give her direction.
As I said, most of my inquiry is to Miss Jackson. Okay.
Because you can understand why I was upset to be told I missed a council meeting last week, and I should have been in a council meeting for a contract. And when I'm being told I've missed something I should have been at to do a contract as council members, I'm really concerned as to how that took place. And this won't be the end of finding out exactly what took place.
Okay. With that being the case, we're going to move on.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's move on.
All right. We're going to move into item number 9, executive session consideration, discussion, possible action to go into executive session pursuant to 25 OS section 307B1 for the purpose of discussing the employment, hiring, appointment, promotion, demotion, discipline, or resignation of any individual, salary, public officer, or any employee. See that. Well, take a motion.
Make a motion to go to executive session.
Still need to have the end of comments.
Close the room, please, executive session.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, do it.
You all had voted before to not go into executive without having the citizens speak first, and now they.
Okay.
You don't want me to stop recording or let it keep recording?
Let's keep going.
You have a second in the vote.
We got a second in the vote.
Ms. Mendoza, did you stop it?
No, I left it, but it's still recording.
Right.
Oh, that's for the remarks and comments. Yeah, we can't do executive session.
Just take
We
the
need to
vote.
vote, we need to vote.
We'll take the vote and let it record for that, and then we'll stop.
Oh, okay, okay.
Trustee Councilmember Campbell.
No.
Trustee Councilmember Fair.
Yes.
Trustee Councilmember Williams.
Same.
Vice Chairman, Vice Mayor Cameron.
Yes.
Chairman Mayor Bell.
Now, this is for item number 9.
Oh, that's the item. I'm sorry. Can we go back? Just tell me yes. Yes, I'm sorry. My apologies, Ms. Weston. No, that was just my mistake.
Yeah.
Now, my voice is, okay.
Now you can stop.
Okay.
Stop it.
Yes, the time